It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielsen, Matt Cassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
All right, hello everyone, and welcome to episode 17 of Two Guys and a Goalie, presented to you by Oddshark. You can visit them at oddshark.com. Also, Popeye's Chicken and Sport Clips Haircuts, where it's good to be a guy, and it's good to be Joaquin Gage today. We'll get to that in a second. It's Dustin Nielsen, Matt Cassian, and Joaquin Gage. If you're watching the live stream, or actually, if you're watching the podcast, track down the live stream and get a look at the shirt and tie that Gage are wearing today.
Fancy.
Gage, I have to say, when you first walked in, I was like, wow, what is going on here?
It's
but you're making it work.
Thank you. And the problem is, I told you, I can't take credit for any of this. My daughter went to the good people at Moore's, fans of the show. And she picked this whole outfit out. So
really?
Yeah. I'm taking her to all future purchases of clothing.
So you have confidence in her picking your whole wardrobe, basically.
I just don't have any more confidence in myself picking out clothes. I go for comfort now. I'm officially that dad that has the dad clothes.
Well, these aren't dad clothes. Cass, what do you think? You're dressed well today too, but what do you think of this look?
I like it.
Yeah.
Is it not too over the top for a Monday, or is it just...
You know what? You wear your personality.
So that's a good point.
Go for it.
And Gager's personality is purple.
Purple and flowery.
Yeah. There you go.
And my mom's watching. She'll get a kick out of it.
Oh, she'll like it too? Yeah. Well, maybe we should all start wearing ties. What do you think, Cass?
No.
Just you can keep a tie here and just throw it on before.
I don't like wearing ties.
Is that,
I never have.
Would you wear it on for a game you had to, or?
Well, if you had to.
Yeah.
If I have to wear it, I'm going to wear it. It's not like I'm going to not do it, but if I can avoid wearing a tie, I will avoid wearing said tie.
Did you have to wear a tie like playing hockey ever? Did they say you had to?
Yeah, once upon a time. Yeah.
Really?
For a little bit. But then they switched it. And then it became so in Ottawa, we had to wear them. It was mandatory to wear a tie for a home game.
Mm.
Really?
Yeah, which was kind of weird. I was like, more people see you when you're on the road, because like home game, it's like I'm in the car and then I'm at the parking lot and I'm in the rink, and it's like maybe a couple people see you. But on the road, it's way more people see you because you're walking to the rink, or there's a bus and there's all the autograph seekers or whoever. So it's like people see you in the hotel lobby. They see you on the way to you just get seen way more. So it's kind of like, I always thought that was a little weird. I'm like, why wouldn't they do it on the road and then not have it at home? But
I always found it weird having suits too, because you put it on for a little bit, went to the rink and took it off right away.
Yeah, and not really people don't really ever see you.
Yeah, no, I have these suits that probably have a total wear time of maybe 50 hours, and I've had these suits for about 15 years. So I'm trying to crowbar my way into those soon.
How long is that going to take?
I'm on the plan.
Just do, you know what? Just do no drink November or no drink December.
I didn't make it.
Oh, you didn't make it already?
No,
November?
yeah. I had a thing to go to.
Doesn't mean you have to.
Just no willpower,
right?
Like,
I couldn't do it. I couldn't. Like, everyone was having such a good time, and I tried with.
Did you try?
I went soda water lime, and I was thinking, and then someone asked me what I'm drinking, and then I had like 8 beers shoved in my face. I didn't drink them all. Drank 6.
Cass, you're on a month and a half. Eh?
Yeah, I'm still good.
Yeah,
still good. I have moments because, as I think we've discussed, I really like beer. Like, I love the taste of beer. Actually, you know what though? I read an article today which had me piqued my interest this morning, and it was on like the rise of craft non-alcoholic beer. Where that's starting to be a thing, because there's been a couple of the big brands that have started pushing like no alcoholic beer or non-alcoholic beer, which I think is great, because even in social situations where people don't want to drink, you can have that and it looks like you are, and then you just don't have to deal with any of the conversations. But then for me, it's like I love the taste of beer, and so I was like, oh man, maybe I can find some of that stuff.
Have you tried the Budweiser non-alcoholic?
No.
It's really good.
It tastes pretty good.
Yeah,
really?
It's not bad.
I only drink alcohol for alcohol.
Yeah.
You know?
See, I like the taste of beer, and I like how it can complement different foods, and so it's just like.
I will say this about craft beer, because I've been drinking quite a bit of that over the last few years.
Yeah.
I don't drink straight up. I don't drink beer anymore to get drunk. Like I just don't. I drink beer now because I like the taste of the craft beers that I've kind of identified as my go-tos. Really, like I'll have one or two because I like it, as opposed to having it to start a night.
Therefore, it's perfect to bring into the dressing room after the game at your beer league.
I don't think I was ever opposed to that. I was just on the board with the Spice Rum and Cokes as well, which was good. Best dressed teammate you guys ever had? Is there one guy that jumps off the page for you?
Carlson would have been.
Really?
He spent the most.
Swedes.
Money. Yeah, Swedes spent a lot of money on their clothes.
Yeah. Geez.
What was it like in Europe? Was everybody dressed well? Were you like basically a hobo over there?
The funny thing was, I remember in Sweden, I go to my first home game and I walk in a suit, and Freddie Lundqvist, I think he was with Edmonton for a bit.
That's Henrik's brother, isn't it?
No.
What's
It's
his brother's
same
name?
last name,
he's
same
got a
last,
brother.
but not related.
Okay.
He started laughing at me because they were in jeans and t-shirts for the home game, and he just North Americans.
Who's this Canadian that's rolling?
And then it was tracksuits on the road there. So, but when the thing is, these guys would look like bums for home games, and then if Saturday night going out, you'd meet them at the bar, and it looked like Vogue puked all over them. Like it was, I felt like such a hobo in Sweden, and I thought I had some good stuff, right? But no, you can't compete with the Scandinavians with their clothing styles. It was quite humbling.
Did Carlson just buy nice clothes, or did he go flashy as well?
Well, what do you mean by like?
Was he wearing like Gager's shirt today?
What times? he was like you said, ripped from the pages of those Vogue or
a handsome
GQ
man
or whatever. Yeah,
a handsome man.
Yeah, no, he just was on top of fashion, which I always thought is kind of a little weird. Like fashion is weird to me because it's like whatever these companies say is going to be popular, and what they're putting out is what's going to be popular next. Like, and it's just.
Are you going after the man when it comes to fashion?
No, maybe. No, I just kind of like, well, how do they like? Yeah, this style is going to change every 3 to 6 months because they want to sell more stuff. Like
Sweden's they were explaining to me, it's like a test ground for a lot of fashion designers. Like,
really?
Because
it's like the American League of Fashion Design.
They had new trends and stuff, and you'd see Swedes wearing it. That I remember coming back, and that style of clothing wasn't here for another year and a half.
Yeah,
like they have a huge. They got the jump on us with stuff. I mean, when you're there, you think everyone looks weird.
Yeah,
but then you're like, oh, it's kind of nice, and then it comes over like the faux hawk. Like when I was there, everyone had it, and then no one, and then all of a sudden you come back here and everyone starts cutting their hair like that and stuff. I had a pair of Lee jeans, like Lee, and I thought they were perfectly cut, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm hitting Mark's work as soon as I get home. I'm going to buy about 20 pairs of these things, but they don't sell the Swedish Lees. They're a little different than the North.
So you had to have
American
them send them over to you instead.
Yeah.
Did you ever consider the faux hawk when you were over there?
I was battling the.
Oh, you're already losing.
I had to let
Sorry,
it go.
buddy. I shouldn't even have brought that up.
That hurts.
I should know by now.
I should tell that story. I was
Go
going to
ahead.
tell. No, I realized that I was losing my hair. It was really tough. A buddy of mine, Alan Schuler. This is when I played in Scotland, and we were doing off ice stuff, and we did the ladder drill, like the quick feet on the ladder. And I was looking down, and I was doing my steps through there, and they were riding the bike in front of me. So after I did it, Alan was our captain. He goes, "Gager, come here." I'm like, "Oh, what's you want?" He goes, "I got to talk to you. It's something real important." I'm like, "Oh, what's he got?" He goes, "You got to do something about that hair, man. You got to shave it or do something because it's not good. It's not good because you can see the bald spot on top, and my hair was a little wet and it was long. Yeah, so I actually went home that day and took it right off.
And that was the end?
That was it.
Seriously?
Yeah.
That day your captain said
Well,
you got to do something.
I knew that it was kind of a baboon's bum back there, and so I said, you know what, it's got to stop.
Episode name: Gager cuts his hair.
Baboon's bum.
Baboon's bum.
You know what? Yeah. There's a lot of podcasts to go, but I'll mark it down. It could be an option.
Baboon bum.
Could be an option.
Nice.
Okay, we've got lots to get to. Like I said, we will play Keep It or Clip It for Sport Lips Haircuts a little bit later on. We'll get to your Popeye's Chicken poll question as well. And Jamie McLennan will join us, I don't know, in about 25 minutes to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs and their struggle. You know what? Let's start there because it's a big story right now. The Leafs have lost 5 in a row. Not only have they lost 5 in a row, that fifth one they lost They weren't even in it. I mean, game was over before it started against a Penguins team that doesn't have Sidney Crosby right now. We talked about it last week on the podcast. Are they going to fire Mike Babcock? Both of you guys said they were. How much longer can it actually go, Cass, before the trigger's actually pulled?
It's got to be. I didn't see it going this sideways.
Yeah.
Even then, it's like I didn't think they're going to lose four or five in a row. So, yeah, it's going to be soon. I would say within the next week. If they lose another one here in the next couple games, like if they don't turn around and win 3 or 4 in a row, then it's done. Babcock will be the first one to fall. And then, I mean, Dubas, I think you should be taking a pretty good look at too.
He hasn't had a coach yet, right? Like he inherited Babcock, so he's got at least one or two coach hires coming. Don't you think?
But do you think it? Well, maybe they could make the argument that that's it. But I think it's more roster than even Babcock.
Okay, that's what I wanted to bring up because nobody really talks about Dubas because he's kind of Shanahan's wonder child.
He's got a good haircut.
He
cool
looks
glasses,
he looks like
Sweet frames.
Yeah,
Sweet
frames.
He looks like an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
Who plays video games and manages the Toronto Maple Leafs. But like you look at it and he is basically, I haven't heard anybody blame him really at all. And I think he's constructed a team that he thinks can win, but he's not constructed a team that Mike Babcock wants to have. And Babcock's kind of said it. Babcock's taken a couple of runs at Dubas in the media as well. At the end of last season, it happened. So, Gager, when you look at what's going on in Toronto right now, I think the majority of it's probably on Babcock or whatever. But does Dubas just get a free pass here because Babcock wasn't his guy?
I think that's the normal way that they do it. They give the GM a pass if they didn't bring the coach in. He'll probably get one more kick at the can. I think it's I don't know about the construction of the team is that good. Like you see them as soon as a game becomes a little bit physical, it just seems like their compete level just falls right off. I mean, if I'm playing against the Leafs, I want to just play them hard and as physical as possible because they don't seem to have any pushback. Like we've talked about Matthews skating by and not finishing checks, and and when your star players do that on a consistent basis, it's contagious. It filters down the lineup, and I just I don't think they're not built to play playoff hockey for sure. If they do make the playoffs, they're gonna be out in the first round because they'll probably play Boston, and Boston just is way too physical for that team to handle.
That was going to be my question. Was let's say they have to play a best out of 3, best out of 7 series against Boston.
Yeah.
So how many games do you think they win in that?
Right now, in a best out of 7? 1.
Okay, and now say they have to play the same series 3 times. Over the course of the 3 series, how many are they going to win?
3 total.
Yeah,
they're
nothing.
not. Yeah.
And so you want to talk to me about team construction. When we sit here and we say, okay, let's look at this team, and they're going to win 1 game in a best of 7 series, maybe against Toronto, maybe 2, or against Boston. Is that coaching?
Or is it roster construction? Yeah, it's a good point. So I don't think the roster's built for this coach.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's even not built for the coach. I don't think it's like, look at what happened with St. Louis when they won. And not to go to caveman hockey, but the second that playoffs ramp up, there's going to be an increase in intensity. There's less time and space. Your skill players will have less time and space. And you have to have a little bit of edge to your game if you want to have success. You don't need a ton of it. It's not all that you need. I don't think we're going back to like the LA Kings, super, super physical teams, but teams that can play with some nasty in their game, they will beat teams that don't because series are long, series are physical. All of a sudden, your skill players have less time and space, and things get challenging. So another follow-up question: if the Leafs still had Kadri as a centerman, do you think they would be a better team?
You know what? I was going to ask that during Keep It or Clip It, but let's do it now.
Oh, I didn't see that on there.
We've got a lot to get to during Keep It or Clip It anyway, so I wanted to get to that at some point. So let's do that right now. Yeah. Do they miss Nazem Kadri?
They miss him. Who's the guy in Islanders? I'm trying to remember his name. The Finnish guy. Isn't he? Komarov. Like
Leo Komarov, yeah.
He's a hard-nosed player, too.
He played with some, he played with some
nasty. They got rid of their sandpaper. And, does Marner make that much of a difference to that team when he plays?
Well, I think they do. Like, those guys, they do. They're incredibly skilled, highly offensive players that are great players, but they just don't have the supporting cast.
No. I think Dubas tried to build a fast, skilled hockey team, but especially in his division, it won't work. He won't even get past the first round with it.
Well, I think you need it. I think it works if you have
the other pieces.
The other pieces. Like in today's hockey, you need to be fast and you need to be skilled. Otherwise, you're going to get lit up. Like you need to be able to skate. You need to have the speed. But if you do not have the guys, even if it's just your defensive core, if you do not have the guys that can play with the sandpaper, you're in trouble. And pre-season, I didn't think that it was going to go this sideways. Like I thought they were going to be a good team, be a playoff team, just because they had so much offensive power. I thought we were almost going to see like a Tampa Bay Lightning situation from last year in the playoffs, like where they have a really good regular season and then they just get stopped short in the playoffs because they just don't have that extra oomph in them. And there's another example maybe of a team that didn't have much of a physical grit playoff type presence that just got ran out of the building by Columbus, who played with a more edge to their game.
Well, remember, I think we were at a game 2 years ago, and the Oilers. I think I said something to you. You said you were going to use it on the post game show, but I that's the same thing with the Leafs. I think I said they just have an inability to make it difficult for the other team to play against. Like it doesn't look like watching the Penguins game, because I watched the first couple periods of that just to see how that new goalie did, because I was hoping he had a good showing and stuff, just part of the guild. But
didn't work out.
Didn't work out too well for him. But no, Pittsburgh seemed like they had such an easy time. It was a glorified men's league game, you know, and it just wasn't hard. There was no parts of the ice where it was difficult for the Penguins.
Do you think Kadri, the Kadri Barrie trade was a huge mistake then? Like, because Barrie's not doing anything. They're not putting him on the top unit power play, which is where he's had a lot of success. I don't think anybody's ever said that Tyson Barrie is difficult to play against. So a team that might have already been difficult to play against, they make that trade. They've got these Russian guys that Dubas has brought over who haven't really provided anything that we've been talking about as well. I mean, there's some good points here on roster construction with what we've looked at.
I would have said that definitely Toronto won that trade in the summer, but now looking at it, it's completely flip-flop.
We'll get into it. Obviously, Jamie McLennan, who works for TSN and is on overdrive out east. They'll be dealing with this quite a bit this week. Poor bastard. Anyway, he's going to join us a little bit later on, so we'll come back around to that discussion. A few things out here in the West that I want to hit on. First of all, Oilers. Let's hit on the Oilers and Stars. Cass, what do you think of the way? I mean, they looked really good for 40 minutes, and then they looked the exact opposite in the third period. Like I didn't think it was like, ooh, they gave up a couple of chances. I thought they were under fire.
They were under fire. Dallas raised their game, and Edmonton just didn't push back. And there's a number of things that you could say factor into that, but that's the bottom line is Dallas made a big push, and Edmonton wasn't able to deal with it. They didn't have someone that went out that was able to change the momentum in that. And that's, I mean, guys like Draisaitl and McDavid do it all the time, but they weren't able to do it in the third. And the Dallas team, you know what? They're a really good team. They're a
10-1-1.
really good team.
12,
really good team. So you kind of, it felt inevitable after a point. But to the Oilers' credit, that's the first time this season that's happened. Like it hasn't happened often where they have all of a sudden, played 40 good minutes and then chunked a third. So I think, maybe caught a little off guard by the intensity and the push from Dallas, and then they just could never recover.
I ran a poll question last week, Gager, on my Twitter feed. If you had to vote for the Hart Trophy right now, would you give the vote to McDavid or Draisaitl? And about 67% of the respondents said be Draisaitl. Where do you guys come out on that?
Yeah, I think I would. That's tough.
It's a tough question.
Has there been a joint Hart Trophy win ever? Like, because McDavid's done so many flashy things, but I think over the course of the short amount of time they've been playing, 20 games, 18 games,
22 now.
22.
Yeah.
I think Draisaitl has been more consistent player. Like
kills penalties.
Yeah, and he does a lot more for and some of those things, killing penalties that you don't see stats wise, like for points. But yeah, I think I'd go with Draisaitl.
I would vote for Draisaitl right now.
You would?
It's close. It's close.
Which is crazy to think, because McDavid's the best player in the world, in my opinion. But with what they've done so far,
he's far and away the best player in the world. I don't think it's super close between him and anyone else. But Draisaitl, and I think we talked about this a couple episodes ago. He's a top 10 player playing like
we did talk about
number two.
Yeah.
Well, at least you don't hear Matthews' comparisons.
Matthews offensively is actually having a pretty decent season.
You know what? But you know what they need to do is they need to trade Austin Matthews straight up for Adam Larson.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want to do. That'll go over.
You'll get some physicality
extremely well. It's funny because I think it's so early in the season and those two guys are so far ahead of everybody in the scoring race. A lot of people here in Edmonton are talking about the Hart Trophy. Like, who's going to get it? You have to go back to 1971 to find two teammates who were both nominated for the Hart, and one of them won it. That was Bobby Orr. He won it that year. Esposito was also nominated. Lemieux and Yager were both nominated. That was the last time two teammates were in, and that was 2001, and neither of them ended up winning it.
Who
and
won
Barrie
it that
only
year?
played 46 games and had like 79 points.
Oh,
It was ridiculous. I can't even remember. I don't even know who won it that year. But neither of those guys did. They finished second and third in voting. So it'll be interesting to see because, and this is the valid conversation that kind of got me ripped when I was talking about it, because how dare you say that neither of them could win the Hart? But if we can't determine who's the most valuable player on your team, how are you supposed to say you're the most valuable player in the league? Like, is there not something to that? Well, there has to be something to that.
It's nice to think that you have two most valuable players on your team, but no, I don't know.
It's just... It's tough.
It's weird.
It's not just an Oilers thing. It's in any sport.
Yeah.
Like when you were going to look at it that way, it's kind of interesting. Calgary Flames, they've lost 4 in a row. Kachuk was saying it's bad right now. They can't get out of this funk. They haven't scored a goal in 110 minutes. They're trying to turn their identity into a team that brought in Lucic, and I'd say they've been successful as they've lost 4 in a row. They can't score a goal right now.
Oh, boy.
Cass, would you worry? It's just 4 games. But at the same time, I mean, they made some changes in the offseason, and this team looks different than the last.
Yeah, I've been a pretty staunch supporter that I've said a few times on this podcast that I think they're going to get better and it's going to turn around. And the doubt is starting to trickle. I've said it pretty confidently before, but the doubt is starting to trickle into my brain where I'm just like, but are they though? So, I mean, look. The shoving match, let's call it, near goalie fight.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that in a minute.
Yes, we will.
I just, in that instant, I was like, it would have been better off if they would have had that full brawl. Like, instead of just the pushing and shoving, if they would have had a couple guys take some suspies.
Even in today's game, Cass?
Even in today's game, no, we would have, you know what? Well, no, actually, maybe I take that back because then, they would have been called out on morning show programs across the country as being bullies and not nice people.
Not mine, but yeah, maybe.
Not nice people because they got in a hockey fight, and that just means they're all terrible. Therefore, all hockey players are terrible. Okay. But from a galvanizing, and I've talked about that even with Toronto, like where I think like something like an event, let's call it, to bring everyone together to really unify, I think is really important because it seems to be like there's a crisis of identity, and when you have a crisis of identity, the quickest way as a hockey team to sort it out is to have some crap happen.
Well, they had their Halloween party in Toronto, and that was supposed to be the turning point.
Yeah,
and
listen, I have never bought into, because I've heard that even on teams, and Gage, or maybe you can talk about this. Have you ever had on teams you played with, like the conversation when things aren't going well, like we just need to, whether it be go like have a team event, like a team party or like team bonding, like whatever the case may be, and be like, oh, this is going to help us and we're going to turn it around if we have that? Like, because I've had like older guys in particular be like, all we need is like to be able to go out with the boys and then we're going to be fine. Have you heard that?
Yeah, I've done it.
Yeah. Never worked.
Never worked.
Never worked.
All I got was a hangover.
Never worked.
All that happened.
Yeah, never helped the team find their identity. Like,
never? You don't think that's ever worked?
Like, come on. Like you, especially if there's internal issues on the team, like if you have personality issues, you think like going out for one night is like going to solve all the team problems. Yeah. I mean, that's just like, I've had, let's say you've had a tough marriage for, 5 years. It's like, well, one date isn't going to be the make or break it. Like it's gonna maybe make a difference and it's gonna move the needle one way or the other. Like it's gonna help. Maybe it's a first step, but it's not like gonna swing it drastically one way or the other. It's like there's a lot of little things that need to happen to improve that relationship, and it's the same thing with a hockey team. Like it's a lot of little things that need to happen, and then galvanizing moments that help. Which goes against my old argument that maybe they just needed to brawl anyways. I guess.
Well, yeah. Well, what if the whole team gets along, but they're just shitty? I mean, then can you go out party?
That's different.
Yeah,
that's different.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was gonna think. Maybe you get on a run then at that point, but. Yeah, I don't know. Gager, how sad is it that in today's game, I saw Riddick skate down the ice and Kemper was already involved with somebody. And I got really excited, even though I knew there was nothing that was going to happen between them. Like, there's no way that was going to happen anymore, which drives me crazy because I love goalie fights. And I don't know if you're ever going to see one again?
I always thought maybe there's a chance with that Robin Leonard because he's a little bit of a nutbar.
Yeah.
Well,
he does the UFC stuff, but I think he's calmed down a little bit.
Yeah.
So, and too bad about. He passed away in the boating accident.
Ray Emery.
Yeah. He would look across the line at
he was
people and
good.
stuff, but until we get another goalie like that, it's unfortunate. We won't.
I think Mike Smith might be one of the guys.
Yeah, no, he would be.
He's fiery.
He'd throw down.
Fiery. Let's see what happens. Him and Luch. Like Luch hit him.
Wouldn't that be something?
Let's see what happens when they get back.
Imagine if they got in a fight and Smith beat him.
Oh God,
unbelievable.
The one thing.
Oh my God, that's when you retire and just open up sports bars in Edmonton.
That would not be good.
Oh, that's great.
Best goalie fight ever. You guys have one as a kid growing up?
Osgood Roy.
Oh, Osgood. Wow, yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, I call him Roy.
Yeah, I did. First of all, I'm going to ignore that. I ignored it the first time because nobody calls Patrick Waugh Patrick Roy.
I know.
You
Who won that
Westerner.
fight? Who won that fight?
Oz did pretty good, but I think Patrick Waugh.
I think you got it too.
Didn't he beat up Vernon too?
No.
Waugh? Did he beat up Vernon?
He fought Vernon too.
That was another. That was a
draw.
really good one
No, they
too.
were both draws.
How
good was that back
Those
in
were
the day?
two. Those were two.
Waugh was a wild child,
he was.
man.
Yeah.
You know what? I actually because I hated it because it was like I was Edmonton, especially when he was with the Avalanche because it was just they beat Edmonton all the time and they were so good. But I loved how crazy emotional he would got. Like I remember as a kid, like you know what I used to do as a kid is I'd like have the hockey cards.
Yep.
And it's like you'd play imaginary, like you'd make your team, like you put out your hockey team, like you'd have your forwards and your defense and your goal.
Yeah, when you were a kid.
When you were a kid.
I still do it.
and you know, he was so good that you would take him, but you hated doing it because you're like, this guy's so good, but I hate him. I couldn't stand this guy.
So good.
But I loved that edge to his game. Like him, like Ron Hextall, like those type of guys where it's like, I remember in my own imagination, like, you know, we called him like Hackstall. I know people like Ron Hackstall, like where he just slashed people, right? And I just thought it was the best thing ever. And it gave you full excuse as a kid when you're playing goalie, like playing street hockey, to just slash your brother because you're just like, I'm Ron Hextall. Like, I'm Patrick
it was
Waugh.
good.
I remember Mac T when we'd play the Avalanche, just because Roy was so confident.
Call him Waugh. You guys, come on.
Because he was so confident. He was a confident human being.
Yeah.
But like he'd write on the board the names of one circle, but he wrote in the other God. Because that's what he thought about himself.
He was pretty good.
Well, he played like it sometimes.
He was pretty damn good, man. My favorite goalie fight was, and it might be because of the play-by-play goal because it was awesome, but Felix Potvin versus Ron Hextall.
Oh,
those two guys
him.
went toe to toe. It was pretty solid. Hextall's Hextall, but Potvin kind of hung in there a little bit. But that fight, I mean, if you haven't seen it. I know everybody.
I skated to the other end in junior once.
Did you?
Yeah.
But you were telling us that one time you were beating up one of the other players.
Yeah.
But you never fought a goalie?
No, I did. Well, in junior, I did.
Okay, you did.
It was his name's. He's actually a cop in town now. I found out. He is Scott Bailey. Is his name. He was a goalie for the Spokane Chiefs.
Oh, you fought Scott Bailey?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
How'd you do?
Terrible.
Really?
Yeah.
Did he beat you up?
He hit me really hard in the nose, and I think I chucked a couple muffins and that was it. Whatever. I was little back then. So
Cash, you ever have a goalie get in your face?
A couple. So there's two good ones. My pro one would have been in practice with Anton Hudobin, because he I mean, the guy lives on, and he's an awesome, like we got along great off the ice. Like he's a hilarious guy, but he drove me nuts in practice because
You fought him in practice?
Well, I just about
right.
So that was so he would, because he was always like vodka and Alfredo sauce, like that's all he ate.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever saw him drink a glass of water. It was white wine. No, I'm serious. White wine, Gatorade, like red Gatorade and vodka. Like that's all this guy
You say
drank.
vodka and Alfredo sauce?
Yeah, like an Alfredo
That
sauce.
could be a
like
name for the title of the
vodka and Alfredo
podcast too.
sauce. And so in the minors, but he would be very selective because I wasn't a high offensive guy, obviously, clearly. So he would be very selective about who he'd go down for on shots in practice because he was pretty lazy in practice. And he's that was early in his career, so he's grown up a lot now. Like he's one of the better backups in the league, I think. Like does a great job. But I would get mad because I'm like, he's not trying. It's like, I want to get better as a shooter. So actually try. So if he doesn't try and he maybe one you'll give him, like maybe he's tired, he needed a second. And then he would keep not trying. So I would just start ripping him at his head. And then he would fire him back. Like he would rip one back at me. And so we'd always get into it a little bit. My other one is, and I know I've talked about it before, but it was the first time, because I've done it multiple times. It was the first time I tried to choke someone out on the ice.
Yeah.
So this would have been in junior. I just got traded from Vancouver to Kamloops. So you're like interdivision rivals, and I got traded. And first game we played against Vancouver was in Kamloops. And I don't even know, because I can't remember why I didn't like him, but I didn't like the goalie Dustin Slade. Like, drove me nuts. Couldn't stand him. And so we were losing really bad because they were way better than us. And I was skating through the crease on a forecheck, or in front of the net in the forecheck. Like, it was like pushing from one side to the other. And so he was facing the puck, so his legs were like the non-protected pad. So I skated through the crease and two-handed him.
Oh, buddy.
And dropped him. And then I got suspended.
Obviously.
And then my next game back was against Vancouver in Vancouver. So I still hadn't got it out of my system yet. So he freezes the puck in Vancouver, like covers up with his glove, and I slash him like hard, like on the hand. And so he grabs the back of my legs and like flips me on my back. Like all hell breaks loose on the ice. And he's trying to hit me with his blocker on my back. And I'm thinking, he's got his goalie mask on. I'm like, I can't really hit this guy. So I get my hands underneath his goalie mask, like on his neck. And I was trying to like squeezing his neck. I'm like, I'm trying to choke this guy's out, like crush his windpipe or something. Then the linesman tackled him and it was over. But that was my sort of goalie fight.
Jesus.
I'm glad I didn't play against you.
I was just going to say.
That'd have been awful.
How's that going over, Gage, right? What about you? Did you have something pop up in practice?
Oh, yeah. I would. That would be a guy would come down and rip one like right by my ears, and I'd give him a pass. And then if they did it again, okay, enough's enough, you know. And then if one time they'd hit me in the shoulder, the next time, then I'd two-hand them and stuff. And you'd fight guys in practice quite a bit, actually. Now that I think about it, not full blown, but you'd get into the pushing.
You get into it.
Yeah. And just,
that's not a good look.
No,
that's good.
No,
well,
but you know what? That does get the team fired up, though, a little bit. Everyone kind of gets in there, and if those types of things happen when things go bad, I find. Right?
Have you? It just made me think of a funny story. So, did you ever see any players just about get into fights with the coaches on ice?
No, I've heard of some bad ones. So there's been yelling matches, but yeah, no.
All right, I'm going to save that for.
Okay, you're going to save that for another episode.
Save it for another episode.
Okay, you're going to have to remind us of that one.
Well, it'll come up at some point, but it's.
But we were talking about
a good one.
We were talking about goalie fights and goalies going crazy, and coincidentally, our guest today, I believe, is still suspended in the National Hockey League. We're joined by Jamie McLennan, Noodles. I swear to God, that wasn't the plan, but it just worked out extremely well.
It just happened to me. Oh, let's talk about suspensions. Let's talk about a jackass who ended his career on a suspension. So, yeah, I mean, it was an unfortunate incident. It happened. Honestly, like it was so weird. I don't know if you've ever seen it on YouTube. Believe me, about it. Once every 2 weeks, somebody will send it to me and be like, "Is this you?" And I gave Johan Franzen a little love tap in the right hip, and he dropped like I shot him. I actually thought he was going to beat me up, and then he didn't, and it just looked awful too. That's the thing. It was a Saturday afternoon playoff game on NBC in the States, and there was just so much viewership. And this backup goalie gets thrown in for 18 seconds, and I tried to, so I got 5 games and quite a large fine. And coincidentally, actually, my head coach was Jimmy Playfair at the time, and Jimmy was fined. for a while there, he teased me after because I think he got a $25,000 fine. So he would say, my boys, thank you that they don't get Sea-Doos this summer because I had to pay their fine. So, yeah, it is what it is. But I'm 48 years old. I owe the league 4 games, and they'll never get them from me because I can't even touch my toes. So.
Was there one guy who drove you crazy in front of the net more than anyone else?
It was Holmstrom and Franson, both of them in Detroit, because those guys would accidentally on purpose always fall on you. Or, oops, like swung my stick and, almost hit you in the eye. Like Glenn Anderson was a master of it. Like he had the crazy stick and, he'd have somebody's eyeball on the end of it. He'd drive hard to the net and just run the goalie over, and he wouldn't even get a penalty. And that's the difference between the old days and the new days. But there were a lot of players. Tyson Nash, who I ended up playing with, and then against, he was a pain in the ass in front of the net. There, Pat Verbeek. There were always guys who were right in your grill that weren't afraid to get there, and those were the guys that always had those giant back pads on, because back then those defensemen, they would chop wood and cross-check, and those guys paid a price to stay in front of the net.
Yeah, they certainly did. It's a little bit of a different game now, and a little bit of a softer game to transition into a team that maybe is playing a little bit softer than some of us would like. Mike Babcock has been under fire recently in Toronto. We spent some time here today talking about Kyle Dubas. Is there anything that you're hearing or in the Toronto market of people just being upset with him as opposed to Babcock?
Oh yeah, I think Kyle has to wear some of this too. If you look at the roster construction, now I think this is correct, but I believe, in doing the research, this is the most top-heavy as far as cap that we've seen in the cap era for a team. They've got 4 players that take up about 62 or 63% of the cap. So, the way that their roster is constructed, when healthy, they believe they're very skilled up front. Their back end is still, I wouldn't say a work in progress, but they're good skating guys, and they've got a really good goaltender. But what they, unfortunately, because of the cap crunch, have left on the table is they've got $700,000 for a backup. And that hasn't, honestly, that position hasn't been filled properly since Curtis McElhinney was here a couple of years ago. Now, Curtis is making, I think, 1.3 in Tampa. So they couldn't even afford to go and get somebody like that. And that's, I know the backup position because I was one. I think I shine a light on it, but I have to be honest. In today's world with the back-to-back, and with the parity in the National Hockey League, the second game in back-to-back is not a throwaway. You need those points, and you need your backup to actually produce points. And the Maple Leafs haven't had that. And then I look at their roster construction and the guys that are shaped around their star players. They're good players, but a lot of them they have to be either cap compliant, making $700,000, and interchangeable guys like Nick Patan and Nick Shore and Freddie Gauthier and Jason Spezza signed for $700,000. Like, those aren't guys that you circle on the whiteboard and go, keep an eye on them tonight, guys. Those are I look at for example, the Boston Bruins when they're healthy. Sean Corelli is on that fourth line, and last year they had Nola Chari, but they've moved players around. I look at the New York Islanders that has a fourth line that could have played in the old era and the new era because they all can skate and they all got good hands and can find the back of the net. When Matt Martin's healthy, Casey Cizikas and Cal Clutterbuck, that's arguably the best fourth line in the National Hockey League. Now, Cizikas and Clutterbuck, they give you penalty PK minutes, so they're quite high functioning. But, I look at the Leafs, the bottom of their roster doesn't give them much, and there's not a lot of flexibility. So if you have injuries, you're basically calling guys up that are on one-way contracts in the minors, and they're going to try and plug and play. But, that's a big problem for me. So I think, Kyle Dubas, his philosophy is to have skill and speed and puck possession. But even the best puck possession teams, let's say they're at 55%, that means 45% you've got to be able to defend. And, this team has not shown me that they can consistently defend. So there's a lot of warts going on in Toronto right now, but Kyle Dubas has to wear some of them.
Hey, Jamie, it's Joaquin Gage, Two Guys and a Goalie podcast.
Yeah.
Jamie, I want to get a little bit serious on you for a sec here.
All right.
Back in the day, I never got
We're going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about that Minnesota game again when you beat me, right?
No, we'll save that for another time. Back in the day, you had a specific, let's say a get-together, 2-day extravaganza in Edmonton, where I believe there was a pub crawl with a bus and a band from St. Louis.
Hungarian.
Yeah, I was never part of that, and I wish I was. I was just wondering if it's ever going to make its way back to Edmonton, because Daddy needs a night out.
Honestly, I would do it, but in the social media age, could you imagine what that would look like?
Oh,
now,
we take the phones away. We take the phones away, man.
That's the thing. You almost have to have like a non-disclosure agreement when you walk in the door. But you know what? You're right. The Friday night was a pub crawl. We used to call it the creepy crawl, and we just have a great time. And we'd start in Edmonton, and we'd drive down to Calgary and have a great time, and then come back and do a little pub crawl, and then we would have the 70s party on the second night, and that's where you go to Value Village and take $10 and dress yourself, and you'd have a great time. So, and I would fly a band in from St. Louis. They were named the Well Hungarians. They played a lot of great cover songs, and that 2-day extravaganza, we basically had to change locations every year because we wouldn't get our damage deposit back. So it was fun. Like I missed those days, and actually I'm not lying. When Gregor and Strudwick had that roast for me in September, a lot of my high school buddies were there, and they were talking about, like, is there any way I can bring that back this summer? And I think I'm going to do it. I'm 48. I've got nothing to lose. I mean, actually, I've got lots to lose as far as family and kids and my job, but I think I'm willing to roll the dice. It should be fun.
I can't wait, buddy. Just pencil me in there.
It sounds like it's a 50th birthday party type of thing.
Ooh,
that sounds like a pretty good idea.
I think so.
Look, I can't let you go without hearing the story about Gager's win against you, because he only had 4 in his career, and one of them was against you.
It was a clash of the Titans. That's what it was.
Wasn't it like a 7-6 game? Like it was like last shot on goal wins type of thing?
Jesus. Come on.
All I remember is, like, I think it was like an afternoon game, and I was red rotten, and you actually made some big saves when it counted, and all I remember is giving the puck away to Todd Marchand behind the net, because he pressured me and I had hands like feet. I couldn't handle the puck, and I was like, oh my God, he's so quick on the penalty kill. And I want to say he passed it out to George Larocque, and if George Larocque scored on you, you just skate right to the bench and take your gear off. So, you know what? I'm joking. I love George, but ultimately,
no, it's okay. Don't worry about it.
I want to say it was like a 7-6 or 6-5 barn burner, and it wasn't great for me because I think I had 5 total wins that year on an expansion team. But good memories and a lot of laughs and stuff. But I swear to God, I think you were at the other end. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I can't remember. I always thought it was you and Fernandez was the other goalie. I can't remember who it was. I was probably too focused, but
I was probably too focused.
That's the reason I always thought I wasn't invited on the pub crawl
because of the
one win.
Yeah, exactly. You're 1-0 against me, so I was like, the hell with this guy. I'm not inviting him.
Noodles, thanks a lot for joining us, buddy. Appreciate it.
Anytime. Thanks for having me, guys.
There you go. That's Jamie McLennan with TSN. He's on Overdrive Radio out there. Was he one of the guys? It sounds like he was pretty adamant. You were in that other net.
Yeah, I think. Well, yeah, that year I did have 2 wins against the Wild, and that game I think did get a little wild.
Do you remember the other 3 goalies you beat? Because we should try to get each of them on the show.
Hirsch was one, but he blocked me on Twitter.
Did he actually?
Yeah,
Were you tweeting at him?
No.
You must have.
No, I wasn't.
He's going to randomly
Like,
search and block you?
He tweeted.
You're not
he
even
tweeted.
following him. He's like he types and he went.
I was following him.
The day he signs up for Twitter, he's like Joaquin.
Yeah,
Gage.
he
There
just
is.
got this ultimate
Block.
grudge against you.
Yeah, I don't like. It's weird because I know him quite well. We played together in Germany for crying out loud.
Well, then it must be an accident.
And well, I don't know. I went to look at. He posted something, and I remember when he was on Sportsnet, and I said, "Hey, cheese, looking good," or something like that, and then I got blocked. But yeah,
You
so
must have thought you were making fun of him.
everyone makes fun of him.
You hurt his feelings, man.
Yeah, he's a funny guy though.
Do you remember who the other two were, though? No? We got to track that down. That'd be funny if they just happen to be like coaches somewhere or something and we could find them.
I think Guy Hebert I beat once. Yeah, you'd have to. You have to go to the archives.
It's a long list.
Felix Potvin beat me a few times.
Did he?
Yeah.
The cat.
He is good.
Trevor Kidd beat me in Calgary. The Dominator. I played
Hey,
good
that's
that
pride,
game
though,
too.
right? Like, that's- yeah.
You know that game where Doug Waite has
Goal?
him, and when the
Oh.
hand goes back against Buffalo and it's in the
Yeah,
old
yeah,
odd.
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Remember
yeah,
that
yeah.
highlight? Yeah, I played that game.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that was the game I played. In the old odd. That was a great arena. Wow. It was like the Roman Coliseum.
Pretty glad I missed out on that
Right
one.
on top of you. The
Right
ice
on
is
top.
smaller, too, right?
Yeah.
The surface is smaller?
Played against
Yeah.
Pat LaFontaine and McGillney. Oh my gosh.
How'd that go?
That Fontaine, that guy skates like he's on rails.
Really?
He was so slick.
Let's get your Popeye's chicken poll question. Try Popeye's legendary Louisiana chicken today. And absolutely delicious. I heard that they were going to remember I went to try to get the ghost pepper wings and they weren't on special anymore. Well, I've heard that they're going to bring us some.
Oh,
So,
really?
Yeah, so be ready for the ghost pepper wings here at some point.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking forward to it. And it feels nice to be special. You know, like they're going to bring you. Can you imagine that?
amazing.
Like growing up, I would have been like, imagine one day somebody would make an item just for you, even when it's not on the menu anymore. And that's what's going to happen.
Pretty cool.
So, yeah, that is
Thanks,
cool.
Popeyes.
Of the 4 Canadian teams currently in playoff spots, which one is most likely to miss the postseason?
Easy.
Montreal, Edmonton, Vancouver, Winnipeg.
Easy.
You're going to say Montreal, aren't you?
No. What? Winnipeg.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I still think they don't make it.
Because of their blue line still?
Yeah.
They've done okay
Is
so
this,
far.
they've done okay so far. As the season tightens up, I think it's going to get worse for them before it gets better.
Out of those 4? Yeah.
I mean, odds
Winnipeg.
are one of them doesn't make it, so. You were just surprised that he said Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
you're just saying Winnipeg.
Then he thinks about it. He's like, wait, you make a good point.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Good job. Nice done.
I'm going to go with Vancouver. And I like the Canucks.
Really?
I do, yeah, but I'm going to go with Vancouver. Sorry, boys. Vegas,
no.
Vegas, and San Jose's won 6 in a row. Vegas and San Jose are coming, man. And I don't know if that's good news for even Edmonton or Vancouver. So, but I like what the Canucks are doing this year. Hernan, what do you got on the poll question over there?
Yeah, I'll just say this. I looked
Okay.
up Gage's game against McLennan. The Oilers won 5-3 that night.
Nice work, buddy. Wasn't
Hey,
7-6.
what did I think I stopped a penalty shot that night too.
Let me look.
You see the box score?
You made 28 saves on 25 shots.
Well, that's
That's amazing.
impossible.
That's amazing.
No penalty shot?
No, I don't think so. No, it doesn't show up here.
Okay.
So, but yeah, you picked up a solid win.
Congratulations, buddy.
Thanks, Hernan.
that sounded. Oh, he wants
See?
to. Don't leave him hanging. He's
Oh,
looking for the
sorry,
fifth.
man.
There you
Sorry,
go.
yeah. So
forgive
quit
you.
making fun of my play, guys.
And then on the
Although I did play this weekend and I was terrible.
This last weekend?
Well, my Kaepernick, my showcase.
Oh yeah, your showcase
Oh
game.
yeah, it was really bad.
It wasn't good.
Yeah, no.
and then the poll
Neither was
question.
Kaepernick's.
Leading the way right now is Vancouver with 38%, Winnipeg at 27%,
Told ya.
Montreal at 21%, and of course Edmonton at 14%.
It's a 1%.
Yeah, it's close. I think both those teams might still be hard pressed, but we'll see what ends up happening there. All right, let's get into Sports Clip Haircuts, home of the MVP experience. Keep it or clip it. Wow. My Nazem Kadri question was already brought up earlier, so we'll skip that one. But we've got a lot of other ones to get to. Let's start here. Kyle Dubas will be Leafs GM for at least 5 more years. Keep it or clip it.
Clip it. And he's gone before then.
5 years is a long time.
Yeah.
But Brendan Shanahan loves him.
I say keep it because he's going to get his own guy in there, and then if things still are in the pooper, then he's gone.
He might still get another.
But he's
guy,
going to get
Got
5
3.
years.
I think he gets 3 years.
3 years. So one coach, because he's not going to go through 2 coaches in 3 years if he decides to pull the trigger on Babcock.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's got 3
All
years.
right. Dave Tippett would get the Jack Adams if the season ended today. Keep it or clip it.
Clip it. It goes to old no neck there.
Trotsy.
That's what I was just thinking too. I'm gonna clip it. I'm gonna clip it. I think Trotz gets it.
Who
It's
won
close.
it last year?
Was it Trotz?
It was
Did Trotz.
Trotz.
did
It was
Trotz
Trotz.
win last
Does he
year?
go back to
I
back?
think he goes back.
I think Trotz won
If it
it
was
last
today, he goes back to back.
Yeah, for sure.
See, can I just? Do you mind if I chime in on this one? Or I know I'm the asker of the questions, but like the Islanders were good last year,
Yeah.
right? Like the Oilers were awful last year. Tippett's come in and has them.
So,
first place.
so what's the Jack Adams award for? Most improved
Coach of the year.
Coach of the year.
Yeah.
Not just most improved. Who's most improved?
But that's what it usually works like, right?
I know,
Because the
but-
I
Oilers
know.
were awful, and now he's got them in first place.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the sexy pick, but the
Yeah.
consistent pick is Trotsy.
All right. Fried chicken is the best kind of chicken. Keep it or clip it.
Keep it.
Oh, that you did not hesitate.
Oh, God, I love that stuff. It is so hard to pass a Popeye's place without getting those ghost pepper wings and a sandwich or any fried chicken. But that.
Stop talking about it because I'm going to go there for lunch. Today,
Oh
I
my
guarantee
gosh.
you.
I did. I went to the one by your place the other day. They had ghost pepper wings.
What?
Yes.
Well, how come they didn't have them when I went to get them?
I don't know
And
if you know.
also-
I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm kind of a big deal. Actually, I forgot to bring that up.
Why didn't you bring us some wings?
Worlds are colliding. I met a person the other day that I'm not related to or a friend of, and he listened to the show. And
What?
I introduced my name, Brett.
Did he give you a review?
He said he loves it, and I was like,
but did he review the show?
I told him to.
You better.
But yeah, so worlds are colliding.
Well, you know what was crazy? I was at Claire Drake on Saturday night, walking by, and one guy who I'd never met before was standing at the glass. And sometimes people talk to people at radio show and stuff, but he turns on and goes, "Dusty, I was going to bring you a box of wagon wheels."
Oh, no way!
I said, "You son of a bitch! Don't you ever bring wagon wheels to us?" Like, yeah. So that was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's kind of fun.
cool.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Cass, you were debating the chicken answer.
I'm debating it because it's like I just like regular grilled like barbecue
like grilled
chicken is
chicken
really
too,
good too. But I mean, you kind of it's the most versatile. Like you can do chicken and waffle. Like you can eat for breakfast.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever had. Yeah.
So you're gonna clip it.
I'm gonna keep it.
Or you're gonna keep it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna keep
you
it.
can't-
All right.
It is the best, man.
The Flames will miss the playoffs. Keep it or clip it. It's early in the year for
I
this.
know, and
But somebody's gonna ask the hard questions, guys.
I'm gonna.
You're
I just
thinking
wrestle. I wrestle with this one. As I said, like I've been staunchly supporting that. I think they'll turn around, and it's been just getting chipped away at. And there's a lot of teams underneath them that are making a big push.
Say it.
So, as of right now, not to say I won't flip back, but as of right now, I got to say, unless something dramatically changes, I got to keep it, and they're gonna miss the playoffs.
November 18th.
And then on the
Caskets
side,
up.
my non-analyst side, I'm like, suck it, Calgary. My Edmonton side.
What about you, Gager?
I'm going to say keep it because they're going to make the big mistake. They're going to get Taylor Hall, and he's going to drag them right down. They're going to be in a playoff spot at the trade deadline, and then they're going to take Taylor, and he's going to drag it right into the pooper.
All right. Claude Julien is a better head coach than Mike Babcock. Keep it or clip it.
Clip it. I had him as a coach. He didn't like me.
Quick answer. I like it.
That's so hard because I have to be in the actual room to know.
Yeah.
Like I haven't had either of those
Yeah,
guys.
you
as
would view a
coaches.
coach differently
I
than
would
I
view a
would
coach
view a
differently
coach.
than
Yeah.
you would view a coach. So I'm like, it's tough for me to say because I've had coaches that haven't had maybe the success that they would like to see from a winning record, but they were good coaches that I'm like, I think that guy's a better head coach. And there's some guys where they just had a better team. And so even when I look at this for both of those guys, I say, okay, from a success standpoint during their careers, was it the players that they had or was it the coach that made the team? And that's a tough question. So I'm just going to clip the whole question.
Come on, man. Hey, here's the reason I ask this, because everybody always talks about Babcock. Julien has a higher career winning percentage and has the cup as well in Boston. So, I think it's a lot closer.
I think you
than
can
people think.
make an argument that
And is doing a better job this year.
Yeah, I don't
obviously.
think a coach can keep that ring if they have Nick Lidstrom on their team. That's not fair.
I know I'd upset a lot of people, but I think it is okay to debate was Nick Lidstrom, is he the best defenseman of all time? I think it's okay to have that conversation. I know we love Bobby Orr.
I never saw Bobby Orr.
I never saw him either, so
tough.
it makes it, I'm obviously more partial to people that I grew up watching, but yeah.
How do you play hockey at such a high level on defense, produce like he does, and not take any penalties?
Ever.
It's
ridiculous.
It's so...
He played a near perfect game. Like, that's so good he was.
I
never
get-
made mistakes.
He could still play, too.
Probably.
I bet.
Because he just wouldn't make mistakes. Like,
No.
he doesn't have to skate. He never gets hit.
He'd still be a 25-point guy.
Yeah,
he'd still
Yeah.
That's
Coffee
crazy.
tells a funny little line. They say, they always ask him, how many points would you get if you played today? And I don't know, probably 40, 50. He goes, really? In today's game? He goes, well, I'm 55 years old.
Probably. You know what's funny, though? Is because I've been on the ice with him a couple times, like in charity games. He can still play.
It's ridiculous.
Like, you just watch him skate, and he's like barely tied the skates up. He took. So I still have it at home. He took one of my back. Like, he didn't bring a stick. He took one of my backup sticks and just took it. And I mean, he only used it for about 5 minutes, and he's just too long. Like, is still taller. But just watching that guy, you're just like, you're ridiculous, man. Like,
I played against him in a charity tournament.
Yeah.
And it was one of the most embarrassing things ever. But he comes flying around the net, and he's coming right up my wing. And I'm looking at him, and I just kind of step back like this and sit right in front of my own bench and just watched him fly by. And the boys are like, what are you doing? I said, I had a first row seat at seeing Paul Coffey fly up the ice. I'm not going to stop him anyway. I wanted to get a look at it. Like, it was beautiful.
Oh,
that was like 5 years ago. It was amazing.
from a skating standpoint, it's like he's still just he's crazy.
It's effortless. It is effortless. It's insane.
He had, in one of those charity events, he was getting the puck. He was coming behind the net, and a guy was chasing him, and he was yelling at him, "Don't do it, don't do it!" And the guy chased him behind the net, and he was gone out the other side. It was just hilarious.
He's giving him the warning, like, do not follow me behind the net.
Actually, my first NHL game, I was on the bench. I got called up from junior, and Slats was coaching, and it was in Old Northlands, and we were playing Detroit, and Koff was on Detroit, and that's when we sat right on the bench, and we came out, and I was standing there right beside Slats, and the puck came out and bounced out, and it looked like someone was going to get a breakaway. Koff took off and passed the guy, got the puck, turned back in, and I was like in shock because I couldn't believe how fast that just happened. And Slats hit me in the side of the head and goes, "I taught him that."
All right, next question. You feel more effective when you're wearing a tie. Keep it or clip it.
Clip it. Clip it.
Oh.
Oh, jeez.
I feel like I'm choking. Someone's trying to strangle me.
You don't feel like you can accomplish more?
No. I accomplish more when I can breathe.
I like the way people look at me. They think I'm important.
Well, with a shirt like that, why wouldn't
Yeah,
I?
All right, so here's my the whole looking important thing. Saw a picture once.
Okay.
There's two guys. One was wearing a t-shirt and a pair of jeans. One was wearing like a crappy sweater and a pair of khakis. How much money do you think those guys were worth?
$1 billion.
No, like way more than that.
Who were they?
It was like, what's his name from Zuckerberg and Bill Gates.
Oh.
So it's like, I don't know. It may make you feel like being over, but it's just.
Were they
it's
on
what
vacation?
you're putting. It's what you're. No, that's what they wear every day. It's what you actually do, not just what. I mean, I understand if wearing a suit and a tie, if it helps you feel like you're getting something done, but it's not the difference.
All right, then hoodies from now on. Right here on the podcast. All right, the Winnipeg Jets should trade for Tyson Barrie. Keep it or clip it. Is this not kind of an interesting idea? He's not helping the Leafs. The Jets could use a blue liner.
But who's like the Leafs don't need another forward, so I'm clipping.
What about a forward with some grit?
Yeah, but who's going to fit the bill?
I don't know.
Gonna with a salary cap from Winnipeg to Toronto. I'm going to clip it.
Stop trying to make logic of these questions, Cass.
But that's what I do.
God. I got to come up with these every day.
That Dustin Byfuglien, he's really become a real stay-at-home defenseman, hey?
Oh, buddy. Do you think they should trade for Barrie?
Yeah, I think they need something.
All right, final one for Keep It or Clip It. Today is Mickey Mouse's birthday.
Ooh.
Mickey Mouse is the most iconic cartoon character of all time. Keep it or clip it.
I'm going to keep it.
Got him.
You got to keep it.
It depends on the age, though. I'd clip it. I'm Bugs Bunny.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, Bugs was huge,
I
too.
grew up with Bugs.
You were a Looney Tunes kid.
Yeah, still a little loony, too.
Yeah, I grew up with those two, so I get it. I think that's fair. That's fair. I still think from an overall being more iconic, I got to go.
Can I throw another name in the mix?
Sure.
Homer Simpson?
Homer Simpson.
Yeah.
I was thinking Homer Simpson too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are young, so yeah, I could see you guys
Like
going.
for me, it was I wasn't allowed to watch Simpsons.
No, I wasn't either. We watched. It was like Saturday morning cartoons was typically Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
But I remember we had a whole bunch of like old Mickey things on the old VCR.
I'd go over to my buddy's house who watched Simpsons all the time, and I was just like, oh man, I feel dirty watching Simpsons right now. Then Family Guy comes along, and it's a completely
you want to
different
feel
animal.
real dirty? Try that Big Mouth. That is on Netflix.
Oh, I've heard about that. I haven't watched it though.
Yeah, that's
Pretty vicious. Yeah.
yeah. Don't put the kids away.
All right. That's pretty much gonna do it. What do we call the episode? I had a couple things written down. I like vodka.
My
and
pen
Alfredo
didn't
sauce,
work.
but
Oh, now it's.
did you think of one?
No,
Vodka Alfredo is not bad.
Yeah, vodka Alfredo.
Vodka
Oh, that's a
Alfredo.
good one. I like that. Vodka Alfredo, or Alfredo vodka.
It's vodka and Alfredo sauce.
Yeah, it's like
Well, maybe we
pasta
just shorten it.
puttanesca.
Vodka Alfredo. Let's do that.
Vodka Alfredo.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Cool.
I like
things
that.
people
All right,
like.
that's going to do it. Thank you to our sponsors, of course, Oddshark. Visit them at oddshark.com. Popeye's Louisiana Chicken, absolutely delicious. And, of course, Sport Clips Haircuts, home of the MVP experience. For Hernan Salas, Matt Cassie, and Joaquin Gage, I'm Dustin Nielsen. Thank you very much for listening to episode 17, Vodka Alfredo. We'll be back with 18 on Thursday.